Welcome to the Great Canadian Comeback, where we break down the stories, trends, and shifts happening across Canada and the moves people are making to stay ahead of what's coming next. Welcome to another episode of the Great Canadian Comeback. So, today we're going to be breaking down some of the most important headlines and stories affecting Canadians today. So, let's just jump in and see kind of what's happening in the headlines and the news, and I'm going to be checking some things out to see what's really happening, give you guys an idea of where things are heading and how it is affecting you as Canadians in the economy, in your wallet, and why it matters right now. So let's take a look first at the housing market. Now, again, me being in real estate, being around the real estate world for 20 plus years, the housing market is very important to me, and I definitely always love talking about real estate, and I want to really jump in, give you guys some insider look, insider information, and also just being in this industry, I definitely have a good finger on the pulse, and I got my ear to the street because I'm definitely in the marketplace, talking to individuals constantly, talking to homeowners, and figuring things out. So what we're going to be looking at today is kind of what's happening in the housing market right now, where are things developing, and what's kind of happening. Well, here's the thing. We're in the middle of the summer. We're at the tail end of July, early August. And normally what happens during this time is when the market does slow down. It's not necessarily slowing down as of like economic factors, as of like other outside factors. The real estate market is definitely a seasonal market. And the summer is one of those seasons where things tend to slow down. Reason being is productivity slows down. A lot of individuals, such as like realtors, mortgage brokers, real estate investors, things like that, everyone tends to go take a little bit of time off, spend some time with their kids and their family because they're out of school. They got summer vacations and things like that. And because of the summertime of, July and August, things definitely start to slow down. It's typically mostly in August because it's the last month of summer before school begins. Things definitely do start to slow down. So what we're going to see in this type of market right now is a little bit of a slowdown. And the reason being is just because productivity is down. People aren't really doing as many meetings. They're not doing as many sales calls. And from investor standpoint, what we're seeing in our business is a lot of homeowners are also delaying as well. I had 3 calls this week with definite great deal homeowners, and what they're telling me is, yeah, okay, I'd like to. One homeowner told me, I want to wait until the first week of August to get a meeting done because they have out of town family. They have their parents visiting from China that's staying in the home. So they're like, once they leave, then we'll be ready to show the home. They don't want to be showing it while they're here. Totally understandable. We had another homeowner that's got their brother visiting from Edmonton who's staying in their home. And while the brother's there, they don't really want, I don't know, maybe they don't want family members knowing that they're possibly selling. They don't want family members knowing what they might be doing with their property. So that homeowner as well told me, okay, give me a call first week of August and we'll plan up a meeting then. So I'm like, all right, totally understandable. We had another homeowner that's gone. They said literally they're leaving at the beginning of August to Europe, and they're going to be gone for the entire month. And they're going to be traveling Europe. They're going to Germany and they're going to Bosnia. They're originally from Bosnia, so they're going back to their homeland and doing a little, I guess, a little tour through Germany as well. And totally makes sense because when I was talking to them, if you're flying all the way out to Europe, you want to be out there for a week or two at least. It's a long flight. It's an expensive flight, but if you're going to go that far, why not stay out there for for a month or so? So that homeowner as well told me, they're going to be back after Labor Day long weekend. So the first weekend of September is when they want to plan a meeting so that we can take a look at their home and things like that. So that's just what we're seeing in our business. But again, we're definitely seeing it across the board with a lot of other people as well. I've been talking to a lot of real estate agents and mortgage brokers, and if they're not slowing down themselves just because it's summertime and they want to take some time to kind of unwind, their business is definitely slowed down because the phone's not ringing as much. People aren't requesting a lot of showings right now to go view properties. The listings have definitely slowed down because either homeowners are doing their last bit of maintenance on their home or getting it prepped for sale, or they want to do a little bit of work. That's kind of where things are at, where we're at in this marketplace during these summer months. So we're kind of seeing a bit of that right now. And it's interesting kind of what happens during this type of market. It's the summer is one of those things that, okay, you want to you want to enjoy the summer, but at the same time, there are a lot of homeowners that have been waiting on the sidelines to either sell their property or we're looking to list it or whatever it may be. And what they want to do is they want to see where the market was at. And over the last couple of weeks, the Bank of Canada held rates. The Federal Reserve also held their rates, and both are kind of hinting towards maybe a rate hike. So, homeowners were holding off, thinking, okay, well, maybe the rates will be coming down, or maybe a rate cut's coming, and the market would stimulate. Well, right now we're getting hints that they might be raising rates, and this could be due to a lot of different factors, a lot of inflation, and still a lot of uncertainty over energy, uncertainty over oil prices because of everything that's happening in the Persian Gulf with Iran and things like that. So there is a lot of uncertainty there. So that's why the Bank of Canada and the Federal Reserve, they're both hinting towards maybe some rate hikes. So, homeowners with that in mind are thinking, okay, we should definitely get everything that we need to get done over these next couple of weeks so that they can have their property ready to list in September. From my anticipation, talking to people such as realtors, mortgage brokers, and talking to homeowners constantly, there is a lot of people that are going to be ready to do some transactions in September. So what I'm thinking from my perspective, what's going to happen is over August, things are going to slow down a bit. Once Labor Day ends, kids are back in school, kids are in university, college, everything kind of ramps back up. We're going to see a lot of properties flood the market for listings. I think there's going to be a lot of buyer activity as well, and we'll see quite a bit of transactions. So that's kind of what it looks like in the housing market and where we're going to see things over the next little bit. But again, if you're looking to sell right now, maybe August isn't the best month because you're not going to get as many eyeballs on it. And the property could become stale on the market if it sits for a month without that much action. When it comes time for a lot of these buyers to return into the market in September or October, and they see these properties that have been sitting for a bit, they might not get the same type of excitement from other individuals that are taking a look. So that's kind of what we're seeing in the housing market. And if this happens within the next little bit, I definitely do see the market picking up when we get into the fall, September, October. It's just kind of what the tendency is. The real estate market is definitely a very cyclical market, meaning certain times a year always kind of do the same thing, which is in the summer times things tend to slow down. It's just like what people tend to do out here, take some time off to do some things and kind of slow their roll in terms of what they want to do with their property. So that's kind of what we're seeing in that space. And again, in terms of inflation and consumer confidence in the economy, there's a lot of hesitancy as well, just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with interest rates. They're waiting to see what's happening with the energy, with oil prices and things like that. And again, this is all factored in when it comes to the housing market, when it comes to consumers. If they're not spending money in retail, if they're not spending money on more so wants than haves, like everyone's kind of spending a lot more money and focusing on the things that they have to buy, right? Like the things that they actually need, like groceries, gas, things like that. And the wants are kind of going to the sideline, which is, I will want to buy a new pair of shoes, or, I want to buy a nice fancy car, or I want to buy like a nicer house. Those wants are not as important as the haves, because the haves are, their priority. So they're definitely something that you want to be focusing on it and spending the money on to get. So the haves are what a lot of consumers are focusing on. So that consumer confidence is kind of going that way. And it definitely keeps it kind of going in the way that the consumer is looking to do. And why this matters to the average Canadian is because basically you want to know what's happening in the mindset of the consumer. If the consumer is looking at something as a want and a have because they got only a certain amount of money in their pocket, they're really going to think about what they're going to do. So for the average Canadian, whether or not you're a business owner or even just an employee or whoever you may be, what kind of money you have in your pocket, you're going to be deciding where you should spend it. Is it going to be the wants or is it going to be the haves? And what we're seeing right now in the marketplace is people are focusing more on the haves because they have to buy certain products, which doesn't leave a lot of leftover income for the wants. And this is going to be affecting all sorts of businesses, especially, in the real estate market. The haves, sometimes you have to upgrade your property if your family's expanding. If you go from having one kid to two kids, a one-bedroom condo is not going to cut it. You probably have to get a two-bedroom or a three-bedroom townhouse or something like that. And if your kids are getting older, you might want to get that house so you have a backyard. Everything kind of shifts on what you need to do rather than like wants and haves. And again, like some people that are not pulling the trigger on some of the wants is, you want a luxury, second home, or you want a vacation property or something like that, or even a vacation, whatever it may be. Some of the wants are starting to get pushed to the side because the haves have taken priority, and you have to allocate your income according to where you need to be spending it. So it's very important for the next important thing to be spending your kind of money on. And kind of what we're seeing right now in terms of like, policy and things like that. It's really interesting, definitely with the immigration. So there's some major headlines that are happening right now where a lot of people were able to enter Canada for FIFA and, on their visiting applications or applying for visas and things like that. They were applying to come to visit Canada to just go to the FIFA events and watch the soccer games. But a few news articles just came out recently stating that there is a lot of people that put on these applications to come into Canada for FIFA, but now they're claiming asylum. So basically they came here for, FIFA reasons, and now they're staying in Canada and not going back to their country, seeking asylum, and they want to stay in Canada and eventually become citizens or whatever it may be, because now like they're finally made it here. They've seen how great it is. Compare it to where they're from, wherever country that they're from, and they're looking at Canada going, okay, this is definitely the land of opportunity. There's a lot happening here. We want to be a part of it. So they're just saying, hey, we're not going anywhere. We're seeking asylum, and we want to stay here in Canada. So it's very interesting. Some of these headlines that are hitting right now, stating that basically a lot of people that came here for FIFA on their visa applications, on their tourism applications and things like that to get into Canada are staying and seeking like either asylum, or they're staying basically saying, hey, this is a fantastic country and we want to stay here. And what the thing is, like, why it's definitely super important for Canadians is to understand that basically Canada is a great place. And if you're hearing it from all these different people that are coming from different parts of the world that are seeking to stay here, they're basically telling Canadians, hey, you got it really good. It's fantastic here. And we want to stay here because we want to start a life here. This country is amazing. You got everything to offer that they don't have in their country. And sometimes it takes a little bit of I'd say like a shake, a little wake up call, letting people know like how good you actually have it. When you live in Canada and you look around, you're like, oh my goodness, we have it really good. And I've seen a lot of articles online and a lot of TikTok videos and Instagram reels from individuals that are actually in Canada, such as like Toronto or other parts of Canada that have visited Vancouver and that have visited Vancouver for the first time, especially during FIFA. And there's a lot of these videos and things like that floating around where people from outside of Vancouver, like from the East Coast, Toronto, Ottawa, other areas that came here and visited Vancouver for the first time are looking around going, oh my goodness, you guys have it really lucky here because it's absolutely beautiful. The climate is just great. The temperature is like perfect, no humidity. We don't deal with a lot of that out here in Vancouver. I'm born and raised here. I've been to many different parts of Canada, and I've been out east and things like that, and I've been to like Edmonton, and I've experienced the cold weather. In Edmonton, I got hit with like minus 45, and that was without wind chill, and that was very, very cold. And I've experienced the humidity of the East Coast. So I'm a little biased when I'll say I love living in Vancouver. The climate's amazing. Living here, the weather's just amazing. The scenery alone, you got the mountains, you got the landscape, and downtown is just like an amazing city to be a part of. But again, like it does take an individual from somewhere else to kind of let you know, wow, how good you really have it. And that's kind of what's been happening as Canada as a whole. And it's been happening to Vancouver as well as a microcosm. A lot of people are saying, hey, man, you guys got it really good. And sometimes it just takes somebody from the outside to let you know, man, you got it really, really nice. So take advantage of that and be grateful, feel blessed, and look at what you have to offer. And that's a bit of the theme of my podcast is the Great Canadian Comeback. A lot of people have been dogging on Canada, dogging on Canadians, and even our own Canadians. Even myself. Like sometimes it is hard to see past some policies and regulations and things like that to be like, okay, is the future looking bright? Will Canada be prosperous for the next generation, for my kids, for my kids, and things like that? Is the future bright? And the theme of this podcast is yes, it is. The future looks extremely bright. If we're just going off of, what other people are saying that are coming here to visit, that are seeking asylum, or other people from parts of Canada that are coming to like Vancouver, or even like our neighbors to the south. A lot of Americans came to Canada for the first time during FIFA, and they were blown away at how amazing it is. So it's sometimes it just takes an outsider to shake you around and look at things and be like, oh, wow, you definitely have it very, very good. And again, this is the theme of the podcast is the Great Canadian Comeback, and this is why we're going to be looking at why Canada is on the comeback. We could just go off of what some of these other individuals are saying is things look really exciting and really bright. And I love to be an optimist. I love to be around other people that are glass half full type people. And when you're around people like that, it becomes contagious and everybody gets excited, and it's an energy that kind of, revs things back up. And that's kind of where we're heading with the Great Canadian Comeback. So we're going to jump into a couple of questions that a lot of our viewers have been sending us in. So thank you for that. Again, send your questions in. We love answering them live. So we want to be able to talk to you guys directly and let you guys know what we're hearing. So let's jump into our first question here and see what we got. So let's see.
What's one mistake you're seeing homeowners or investors make right now?
So what's one mistake I'm seeing homeowners and investors make right now? All right. Well, one mistake that I am seeing is definitely what we've been seeing lately is a lot of overpaying. And you know what? What happens is it's very difficult for an investor to evaluate a property and see the upside if they don't have professional guidance. Now, what is professional guidance? Okay, yeah, you can go through a realtor, you can go through a mortgage broker, whatever it may be, but what if the person's brand new? What if the person doesn't have experience in investment type real estate? What if they don't even own real estate? What if they don't even have a rental property? Now, these are the types of people that I don't know if you should be seeking advice from when you're purchasing your first real estate investment. It's kind of like how the saying goes. If you're going to get advice from somebody, you'd want to get advice from someone that actually has done walk the walk and has done what you're kind of looking for. Me personally, if I'm getting health advice, I'm going to get it from somebody that's healthy, that's way healthier than I am. I'm not going to be getting advice from somebody that's eating cheeseburgers all day long telling me that, hey, you should be eating healthy or you should be going for a run and staying active. That doesn't make any sense, taking advice from someone that's not doing what they're kind of telling you is actually the right thing to do. So, when it comes to investing in real estate, I would say seek out other individuals that are in the same space that know what you're kind of doing. And for homeowners as well, get advice from professionals that have been in the industry, that kind of know what your property is about, local experts and things like that, know about your area. They're going to know what's kind of happening in your area, what developments are coming, what's kind of happening that's going to add value. Is there, public transit, SkyTrain coming there close by that's going to either increase or decrease your property value? Is there a new community center getting built that's going to increase the value of the neighborhood? What's the zoning like? Is there zoning density happening? Is there like an apartment complex coming up or a townhouse complex coming up? So if that's coming up and you're sitting on like estate properties and luxury homes, that's probably going to bring down the value of your property, because you're going to bring in a lot of density and a lot of like cheaper type of real estate, which could affect the value of your property. Or is your property like in development phase? Could it be developed? So these are the types of things that are really important, to seek out the professional advice, seek out individuals that know what they're talking about, that have been in the industry for quite some time, and have that, I think, like gauge of experience and knowledge, so they can give you guidance in the right direction. Let's jump into our next question and see what we got here.
If you had cash today, where would you invest?
Okay, so if I had cash today, where would I be investing? So again, me being biased to being in real estate, I'd definitely be investing in real estate. Like I was saying in a couple other episodes, like there's a lot of different ways to invest in real estate, and it all comes down to the type of cash that you have available. You could get started in real estate with as little as like $100, and people are like, wait, how's that even possible? How can you get started in real estate with $100? You can get started in real estate with $100 because you can start with education. You can start with networking. You can start with talking to individuals. You can start with taking somebody out to coffee, taking someone out for a beer, whatever it may be. That is where you want to be, and you can be able to pick their brain. You got to remember, in any industry, especially in real estate, everybody started from the bottom. Nobody owned any real estate when they, were freshly birthed, unless they came from an extremely wealthy family and they decided to give them like property when they're like 1 year old. I don't really see that happening. Everybody had to earn their keep to understand how this game works. So the beauty of real estate is everyone started somewhere and eventually rose to whatever level that may be. So if you're looking to, let's say, acquire your first home, maybe the best person to talk to is somebody that owns a home, and ask them how they did it. What did they do? Did they put together a savings plan? Did they have somebody help them with their down payment? Did they, have certain like income qualifications? Did they talk to a certain real estate agent, or did they talk to an investor? Did they have a good mortgage broker? Like, these are the types of people, if you talk to, then you can get a little bit of guidance and things like that. Or you can jump online, do some research yourself. You got $100, man. Maybe you can, subscribe to like a group, a community, join a meetup, things like that, because everyone's starting from somewhere. So it like that could be somebody that just has $100, but who knows? Maybe you have $1 million and you're looking to kind of get in, and you're like, what should I do with this $1 million? How can I get involved? Well, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. You can either buy a property, fix it up, or sell it, or you can start a real estate business where you're driving in some leads and doing some consulting and things like that. So there's a bunch of different ways to do that, depending on the cash that you have available to you. But I'd say it's pretty endless, the opportunity, especially in this real estate space, if you have some cash in hand, and regardless of the cash that you have in hand, it will shock you that the barrier to entry is pretty low to get involved and just kind of start learning, and it'd be pretty fantastic where you can end up. So let's jump into our last question we got here.
Are we at the bottom of the housing market yet?
So are we in the bottom of the housing market yet? This is a question we definitely get a lot. Everybody wants to know, okay, are we at the bottom? Because now I'll be ready to buy, or now I'll be ready to invest. Have we hit the complete bottom right now in this segment of the market? Or, have we bottomed out because I don't want to lose any money? Well, here's the interesting factor. The interesting thing is, yes, we have bottomed in some segments, and you don't have to believe me. You can look at the data. The data is showing exactly that. In some segments of the market in Vancouver, single family homes have bottomed out and now have starting to see some either flatlining or a bit of incline in prices. So that's exciting for single family homes in some pockets in Vancouver. However, is that a blanket thing across, I don't know, Canada as a whole, or is it across the lower mainland or Fraser Valley out here in BC? Not necessarily. We're still seeing quite a bit of reduction in some single family homes in certain areas. And if you're looking at the townhouse or condo market, we're still seeing property values slide quite considerably in certain segments of the market. So, a broad question like, are we at the bottom of the housing market is not a straightforward answer, because we have bottomed out in certain segments and we're starting to see some incline in prices in some segments of the market. However, in other markets such as, townhouse condos, certain development properties, land assemblies, things like that, some property values are still sliding significantly. So again, seeking out the right advice and things like that is really important when you're in this market and trying to figure out where the housing market is at and what exactly you should do. So it definitely is quite interesting on where things kind of go. And one thing, I want to understand is like, what's one takeaway you guys are seeing, either not just in the marketplace, but one takeaway that you're getting from like this podcast, listening to the Great Canadian Comeback. What's one takeaway you guys are going to have from an episode like this? What did you understand? What makes sense? What questions do you have? Again, we love answering questions live on these podcasts. So we, submit your questions so we can help you guys out, understand what's kind of happening. So you guys can have some knowledge and figure out where things are kind of going. And, I definitely want to see what's happening in the marketplace, engage with the audience, get understanding of where things are heading, because again, this is my passion, and I love being involved with in the real estate market. I love being involved in Canada as a whole. I want Canada to win. I'm a Canadian. I'm born and raised out here on the West Coast, and I love Canada. I want to be exploring Canada. I want to be involved with other Canadians that want to be winning. If you're negative and you're not thinking Canada has any future or hope, we don't need that kind of mindset. You definitely need to either educate yourself more, research a little bit more. Don't just read the negative headlines. Don't just read the negative talk. There is a very bright, optimistic future looking for Canada. If you look at it as a whole, we are one of the biggest landmass countries in the world. We have what the world wants, which is, we got the minerals, we got the energy, we got gas, we got natural gas. We are like very, very rich in natural resources, and we got forestry. So we got a lot working for us, and now it's just a matter of unleashing that so we can start being extremely prosperous, help all Canadians rise together and be a massive beacon of hope, and bring a lot of prosperity and optimism back into Canada so we can all, take part in this extremely exciting future that we have coming to us very soon. So once again, this was another great episode of the Great Canadian Podcast, and we'll be coming very soon with some additional episodes to keep you guys informed on where Canada's heading and what looks exciting for the future. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the Great Canadian Comeback. Follow the show for more episodes and check the links in the description for more information. We'll see you next time.